Good afternoon, everybody. Tiffany from Dragonflyer Studios here. I am getting ready to embark on a new project. I've got a couple in the works, but you know, like any good crafter and junk journaler, you probably got more than one going on. I am no different than any of the rest of you. I found this little guy. He did have the VHS tape in him, however, I don't have a VCR. But I thought this might be a really cute way to make a little journal. I'm just going to use the size of the VHS tape cover box. And so, yeah, I thought I'd do a start to finish kind of video series for you on the making of this. I am going to do probably 2 signatures in here. They probably won't be very thick because, you know, as you start to fill stuff up, chunky monkeys become a thing. And yeah, so this video is just going to be how to break down the box. If you have any of these lying around, I'm sure you do if you grew up in the 90s like I did. VHSs were a thing. They haven't been for a while, but if you have the old boxes laying around, sitting out in the garage or something, this might be a way for you to upcycle them and turn them into something new. I will start to break this down in a minute. I've already picked out my cover, so I made this from a napkin. It's just a napkin that I have applied PVA glue. PVA is just a fancy word for our friend Elmer's glue. Mix it with a little water, laid it down on a cereal bag, brushed it over it. I do have a how-to video in my video library that you guys can check out. It shows you how to do this. I don't know if it's this particular one or if it's the dragonfly napkin that I did in the tutorial, but check it out. But I thought this is going to be a cool way. I'm going to leave the box cover as it is. I would normally cover it up, but I'm going to leave the box cover because I kind of like the way the characters are kind of peeking through at us, and it lets you know where it came from. So that's going to be my cover. So for right now, all I've done is I've just popped open the top, you know, because this is the case, you know, like such. There you go. If you're not familiar with VHS tapes, this is how they would come. Video slides in there. That's how we kept them safe. So I just popped the top of this open to try and find the side with the seam where the box is put together, and that's the side that I'm going to cut open. Just going to get my craft knife out here, and I'm just going to try and go down that seam as much as I can. Be very careful with your blade. I am cutting towards myself, but I'm a grown up, and you know, we all know to keep our fingers out of the way and whatnot. If there are any younger viewers, please be careful. If you need to get an adult for that, please do so. I don't want anybody to get cut or anything like that. Okay, so there we go. There's our box all split open. It does have these little factory bendovers at the bottom, just from where the cardboard came out of the punch whenever the box was created, however long ago. I'm just going to unfold those because I'm going to want to trim those off. So this will be my front cover, spine, back cover. Okay, so we're just going to start by trimming this little guy up here. I've just got my metal ruler, and I'm just going to use the natural folds of the box as my guidelines. So I'm just going to start, and I'm just going to cut these off, trim them down nice and even. There we go. Push those aside. And then I'm going to trim off this edge over here. This part usually doesn't take very long. So again, I'm just going to use the natural folds of the box tops here as my guide. Not really measuring much at this point. You can totally measure it, bust out a carpenter square, do whatever you got to do. Make sure that it's what you want. And then I'm just going to come in here, same thing here, cut along that line. Alright, and this is what we're left with. Very book looking, very cool. Very what we got. This isn't really chipboard. It's just I would say a little bit thicker than cardstock, but not much. So keep that in mind. But as I layer on my stuff, this will get a little bit more rigid. It's definitely not going to be a hardback book, say like if you were to tear apart a novel or something like that. But but yeah, that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so we're just going to open this guy up. Now what I'm going to do is, because there is a little bit of, oh, I don't know if it's wax or plastic or what, I am just going to go ahead and give this a light sanding, just to kind of knock some of that off of there. This is just P150. I don't know if it's grit or what, but it's just some sandpaper that I have. I'll keep it around. It's good for lots of different things. This is just going to give my glue that I'm about to use with that cover that I showed you something to grab onto. I don't want my cover to peel or bubble up or anything like that. Okay. And I'm not scrubbing so hard that I'm going to ruin the design, because like I said, it is going to show through. So knock the dust off of that, and then I'm just going to get out a little wipe that I have, and I'm just going to give it a light wipe. I don't want to drench it down or get it too wet so that it starts to buckle or anything. But see, that's the color that I just sanded off. So that gets the residue off of that cover, so that when I do here in just a little bit get ready to apply my glue, it will adhere better. Okay, so we're just going to see how just a little bit too much liquid and it already starts to buckle. So I'm going to keep that in mind, so that when I go inside to do my inside covers, I'm probably going to make sure and I use some thicker cardstock, just so it doesn't want to buckle in on itself as we get going through here. Okay, so yeah. All right. So now, because this is just a VHS cover, I need to do something to reinforce my spine, because, you know, open and close, open and close, open and close. This is already old. This is oh goodness, let's see, now that I've sanded all of it off. The artwork is from the 1960s. Couldn't tell you when the VHS came out, but it's been around for a hot minute because, well, they stopped making VHSs a while back. So my corners all line up. It's the same size front and back, so we're good to go there. But what I am going to do is I am going to find me a piece of material. I usually use cloth to reinforce my spines, so I'm just going to dig through my scrap box here. Thank you, Miss Teresa, my fellow co-worker. She keeps me happy with spines. I really like that teal. Let's see if that scrap's wide enough. It doesn't have to be a whole lot wider. I mean, you can do whatever you want to with this. I want it to be a little bit wider than that. I don't feel like that's going to give me enough coverage, so I'm just going to go to these little wider ones here that she has given me, and I'm going to dig one out. All right. Yes, I like the way that looks much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I leave a little bit of overlap here and a little bit of overlap here, so that I can wrap it around and tuck it on the other side. That just ensures that the edges are protected as well. So let me get my little handy dandy craft tool as stuff starts tumbling out of places where it belongs. And I'm just going to run this across and cut that off like that. Okay. Then I'm going to get my Fabrifix, which is a glue I use. You'll see me use it a lot. It does great with fabric to fabric, paper to fabric, and paper to paper. So I'm just going to run this down the spine. This is in an icing bottle. It gives you much more control over the amount of glue that goes down. The tip also doesn't get clogged up as much. And I just put this little pin right down in that hole. Keeps it nice and airtight, I guess. It is a silicone-based glue, so it will not cause the warping that you saw when I put moisture to the cover. So now I'm just going to smush this down and apply enough pressure. You do have a couple of seconds once it's made contact to kind of reposition things. So, you know, if you push it down and you're like, oh no, it's crooked, you got just a couple of seconds to reposition it. Otherwise, once it's on there, it's on there. Okay, so we're just going to come back and make sure that our edges are all nice and glued down. I'm just going to run a bead of glue this way. Yes, this is real-time crafting. No fast forward. No time lapse. It won't take us long though. And I always do my spine covers or reinforcements like this before I do my covers, and I'll show you why in just a second. So now all we want to do is we just want to make sure that that is still going to fold, and it does. It folds quite nicely, and it has a little resistance. It wants to come open, so that's good. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and fold these while that glue is still semi-wet, just so it gets that good crease going on in there. Okay. So we're going to flip this over. Now, because I know this is going to show through my rice paper, I'm just going to be a little more peculiar about my edge and make sure that it's not too long. There we go. You don't have to do that. That's just me being me. Everybody designs a little bit differently. Come on. And then I just take my finger and smush, 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 smush. And then I use the edge of whatever it is I'm working on to fold over like that. Mostly because then it takes into account the thickness of the thing that you're trying to cover. You don't get this weird wonky beveled edge. Weird wonky? Yes. Those are technical terms, by the way. Here in the craft world, we come up with our own sayings all the time. Okay, so I try not to use my mat. I try to use my glue book. This was a technique I discovered on Facebook, or sorry, on YouTube, much like what you're watching now. It's just an old text block out of or signature block out of this one happens to be a dictionary. And I use it to glue on, stamp on, my awl. I've punched holes in this, and it's just an all-around utility thing so that I can keep my mat as clean as possible without getting a whole bunch of glue buildup. I've ruined a couple of these mats doing just that. Okay, so there's my spine, all nice and reinforced. I normally do a hidden spine. I'm not going to do a hidden spine on this one, just because I'm trying to do some new stuff and learn some new techniques. So you're going to learn right along with me. All right, so now in comes our rice paper. It is just a paper napkin that I treated, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. What I'm looking for is I want it to be able to cover. There's my edge of my book, and then I want this to be able to wrap around the edges so it gets a nice seal on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my hand here to keep my cover straight, and then I'm just going to fold this back. I'm going to start with my spine, and then if my bottle will cooperate with me, we're just going to go down the spine. This is the one place where you will not see me skimp on glue. I don't normally skimp on glue, but I do have different products that I use because glue can be expensive. Fabrifix is not cheap, but if you're wanting to make something and you want it to keep, the added expense of a good product it's just worth it. Okay, so I'm just making sure that the spine is all glued down before I move on to my cover and back piece. Okay, look, little cat in the hat popping through. I love it. This might be fun for a kid's journal, or just 90s nostalgia. I know I watched a lot of The Cat in the Hat when I was growing up. Okay, so now we want to. I've learned that it's good to go back, even if this was an old book that I'm using. It's good to go back and kind of fold this, because if I were to glue it all down flat and then I put the tension on it, cloth not so much. But if you were using like this is a very, very thin paper cover. If you glue it down completely flat and then put tension on it, chances are it's going to separate right here at the spine. So we don't want that to happen. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here and come on, bottle. All right, here we go. Want to make sure you hit the edges really well. You don't want your cover peeling off. So I start with my edges first. Okay, it does get tacky quick. So here we go. And then I just come down the middle and then smush it out. And it does have this rice paper, the napkin that I've done, that I've treated, it does have a texture to it, as you can hear as I rub my hand over it. It has this wonderful, I don't know, will it translate in the camera or not? No, it just kind of looks smooth. It does have some wrinkles and whatnot. I'm just going to make sure that it's good and pressed on there before I move on to the back side. Like, if this glue doesn't take long, you know what? I'm not going to use my tiny bottle. This is what the bottle looks like. Anybody who wants to purchase some or wants to look into buying it, that's what the actual bottle looks like. I transfer it into this icing bottle. I follow a woman on YouTube. She made that suggestion, and so I took her advice, and it has been a great. So here we go. So the big bottle that it comes in, that the tip that they have really lets out quite a bit of glue at one time. So if you are working on bigger projects, you might want to leave some glue in the original bottle and work with that. Gotta figure out what works best for you, right? Okay, so here we go. We're gonna fold this up, and again, I just come down the middle and then work out to the edges, just so you don't have any bubbles. Okay. Come back and make sure that that fold is there. I'm going to lift this up and use the weight of the table to kind of give me the added oomph that I need to push that all into place and make sure it's adhered. The great thing about this Fabrifix is if you get it on your skin, it is silicone based, so if you have a silicone allergy, you might want to be leery of that. But you can just, if it gets on your skin, you just rub it right off. No fuss, no muss. It hasn't caused me to break out at all. I do have some skin irritants that I've got to worry about messing around with, certain glues and stuff like that. This does not seem to bother my skin. Okay. Alright, so there we have it. The outside of the book is covered. Very prettily done, I might add. So now we can focus on the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and, so this outside border here is what I'm going to use as my measurement. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to measure. I'm eyeballing, measure. Do you see a ruler? I didn't see a ruler. I just want this thickness to be about the same as that thickness. Just mostly to keep the added bulk off of the inside of my book. Okay. We will set those aside because those are lovely scraps, and scraps never go to waste at Dragonflyer Studios. Let me tell you, they are worth their weight in gold. Okay, so there's my needle. Took my needle out of there. It's actually a straight pin for sewing, but you know, whatever. Okay, so now to wrap the inside of this, I'm just going to come in and put a little glue on my 4 corners. And then I just bring this in at a 90-degree angle. Some people cut theirs. I've tried that method. I don't particularly like it, but if that's what you like to do and you like the look of it, then by all means, do what makes you comfortable and what makes you happy. As long as you're happy crafting, then you are doing something right. All right. I'm just going to do this to all 4 of these corners. Okay, there we go. Oh, that one's not stuck. It stuck to my finger more than it did the board. Alright, okay. So then we're going to come back over here. And I run the bead of glue on the inside of my book rather than on the piece that I'm gluing down. And then again, just going to take this book cover, fold it over on itself, push it down, drag it out. Get nice crisp edges, nice clean folds. I do side to side, top to bottom. You can work around, I think you could work around whatever direction you wanted to go, like if you wanted to go that way, but this is how I do it. So, whoops, no little stowaways there. And then you just flip, fold, push, drag it up. And then I'm just pulling in this way to make sure that it's as straight against that edge as it could be. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to do the top. Maybe. The glue bottle does not want to work. Okay. Doesn't take much on these edges. There is going to be an inside piece to this, so if it's not exactly straight, don't worry about it. We will fix it. It's just paper. It's just paper. Well, maybe. Maybe it's just paper. Alright. Feel very Hawaiian with this napkin that I've got going on. Okay. So now we're just going to take this, fold it over, push it down, drag it up. Okay. The Fabrifix will take just a little bit longer to catch on this fabric. Sometimes it's super fast. Right now this is taking a little bit to grab. So I'm just being mindful of that, keeping an eye on it. Okay. So there we have that. And then again, I just fold it to make sure that my creases are good and that my book is keeping its shape. Okay, so this is the front. Oh, look, you can see green eggs and ham. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, it's already starting to look like something that it didn't used to be, right? Okay, I am going to pause you real quick while I figure out what kind of papers I want in here, and then I will be right back. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So I found this. It's a bit of a plaid color. It's dark, so it will seal up the colors quite nicely, and I think it will work quite well for what I want. Okay, let's put some tools away, lids on glue and whatnot. Alright, we're almost done. Hang in there with me. Try to keep this under a half an hour. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to measure our book sides. And it can come as close to this as you want to. I try not to overlap my spine. I think if you just did one solid piece, it would be fine. Just keep in mind that you still want the book to be able to do this when you glue it down. But I'm just going to bring mine over to here. So what I'm going to try and do is probably go about 3 3¼ inches. So 3 3¾ Did I read that right? I did not. 3 3/4. Measure twice, cut once, right? 3 3/4 by, we're gonna do about 7. So 3 3/4 by 7. Oh, and look, this has a wonderful little cutting guide on it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy right there. We're just gonna put this down and we're gonna tear it. No need for a cutting knife. Okay, so then I said 3 1/4, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can take this one here. We'll just need to trim it down a little bit. There we go. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. These grids on the backs of these sheets make this super easy. This is the first one of these I've worked with. Alright, and that'll go into the scrap bin. So there's our inside covers. I've just got to trim down this one. Yep, it's a little too close to the edge and a little too close to my spine, so that's okay. So what we're gonna do is I just need 1/4 inch, and if you see my little grids here, if I line this up there, I can come here, and this first little dot, line up my ruler, will take off 1/4 inch at a time. Just gotta be patient enough to stick with it. And I don't care about the little frayed edges. This is meant to be an art journal. Art journal, junk journal, keepsake journal, heirloom journal, whatever you want to call it. It's meant to be yours. So the little frayed edges don't bother me. If they bother you, by all means, whip out that craft knife and trim yourself up a square little page. No one will judge you. This is a judgment-free zone. Okay, so that's what the inside cover will look like. Oh, excuse me. Just had to sneeze. I am so sorry. Okay, that's what the inside cover will look like. I'm going to get these glued down, just using a little Fabrifix glue here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue on this paper rather than here, so that I know my glue won't ooze over the edges of the book into places where I don't want it. Now, I'm just going to mush it around to the edges so that I get a nice good seal. I don't want this piece of paper lifting up once it's down. I'm going to leave the squiggle in the middle so that it's got something to bite with. And then I'm going for center here. Doesn't always happen. But we're going to cross my fingers. Okay. Middle to the edge, middle to the edge, middle to the edge. Okay. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Come over here. I say, come on. There we go. Go around the edge with a good bead of glue. Back and forth across the middle. Finger smush to the edge. Okay. Then we flip it. Going for center. Fingers crossed. There we go. Center to the edge. Center to the edge. Wipe off my fingers. Okay. Alright, well there you have it. This is the beginning of our VHS book journal. Okay, so I hope you have learned a few things. I'm not going to work on this. I will turn this into a series, so everything that gets done to this particular project I will do on video so that you can see it from start to finish, and hopefully we can learn some new tips and tricks together. I do have a little bubble there, but that's okay. Alright, next time we will work on getting our signatures figured out and possibly sewn in, or maybe we'll decorate some pages together before we get them sewn in all the way around. Alright, but until next time, this has been Tiffany at the Dragonflyer Studio. If you like what you've seen, you want to see more, please hit that subscribe button, give me a like, give me a share. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here and participating in this with me. Until next time, bye.